First viewer from Appleton wants to know, is there anything happening with the Appleton prison this session? Who wants to take a run at that? Should we start with you, Representative Hillstrom?
Sure.
It's sort of a corrections, law enforcement, legal thing, so we'll pick on the lawyer here.
So I serve on the Public Safety Committee, and we actually heard the bill, and they passed a bill to require the department to enter into a lease with Appleton for a lease to purchase or some type of lease. There actually is a proposal that I'm carrying to ban the use of private prisons. If the state wanted to make an offer to purchase, that's something very different than actually leasing beds from a private facility. So it is not alive in the Senate at this point. I believe it is. It has moved in the House. It, I believe, is part of the omnibus negotiations bill in terms of budgeting. Right. So that is where the status is. The governor has said no.
But he did at one time say he'd be interested in buying it. Did he not?
I don't know the answer to that. At this point, it's my understanding that they've been paying taxes at about $12 million evaluation, and the last evaluation of what they were asking for the state was over $100 million or $100 million. Right. And so they've been paying, saying their value is $12 million and asking for $100.
I think there's more value to Appleton if we lease it, because then they'd still pay property tax. If the state buys it, then the city would lose all of that property tax.
If the state,
all they'd gain is the jobs.
If the state does the sentencing guidelines reform or the compromise proposal that's on the table, there would be no need for it. Currently, the state is short about 500 beds, 550
we're letting them
beds.
Out early?
It would be a reform in terms of drug sentencing.
We call it reform? They're going home.
So no one that's in, because it's not retroactive, it would just be looking at drug sentences going forward. It would save about 550 beds currently under the sentencing guidelines reform. Under the compromise proposal, law enforcement, county attorneys, defense attorneys, and the public defenders got together and made an agreement to figure out how we could deal with our sentencing issue. We currently have about 500 people that are in prison for fifth-degree controlled substance that have voluntarily said, I don't want to be on probation, I would rather go to prison. So if we actually deal with the issues of chemical dependency treatment and the resources that they need in the community, those folks are not supposed to be in prison, and they have voluntarily selected to go. We need to address that issue.
Wouldn't that be another argument for leasing then, if they don't see this as a long-term requirement? Why would we own it, for one thing? And now these are being held in county jails from around the state, I understand. Those that would go to Appleton. So that's where the prisoners would come from that would go to Appleton.
So we are currently leasing about 500 beds from local jails. That's what we're currently doing. This reform proposal is supposed to be taking care of that. So Appleton and that community actually originally built it, and it was publicly owned, and then they chose to sell it to the corporations, Corrections Corporations of America. Corrections Corporation of America has been states have been walking away from the Corrections Corporation of America based on the record that they have had. Even states like Texas has said, we are no longer doing business with Corrections Corporations of America. They have been found by the court to lie on their documents. They've lied about officers being working when they haven't been working. They have been held liable for the treatment of inmates. And so the state at this point is not interested in doing business with a private corporation.
But if the state owns it and runs it, all those issues aren't pertinent either.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Aren't we going to? My understanding of the issue is that we would be leasing the physical space, and that the guards and all of the administration, everybody, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Representative, that they're all going to be state employees. They're going to be running that operation. So the only thing that this corporation is going to get is some money for us to lease it, and when we're done with it, we can cut the lease and leave. I don't understand why you would have this much trouble with this, but everybody has their opinion, I guess.
Well, so actually, I have been in the legislature when we actually had Appleton open before. And frankly, it has been, it's not a DFL or a GOP issue. Steve Smith was a Republican out of Mound. He actually worked with me the last time we attempted to close Appleton Prison because they were having additional difficulties. It was Arnie Carlson who actually put the Minnesota National Guard on standby when there was the last issue at Appleton, and it was Governor Pawlenty who stopped leasing the prison based on the issues that were going on. So this isn't a DFL or a GOP issue. It has been bipartisan, that folks have said that
it's been bipartisan both ways.
Correct. It has been bipartisan both ways. But the research has shown that when prisoners went to Appleton, if they spent any amount of time at the Appleton prison, they were actually more likely to reoffend. And they picked the lowest level offenders to go there. They cherry-picked who they allowed to come to Appleton, and they said, we won't take anybody who has mental health issues. We won't take anybody who needs medical issues. We won't take anybody that's old. So they picked the best prisoners, and the folks that then went were more likely to come back to prison.
But the difference is that was run by that corporation, their employees, and that's all in the past. State employees, I'd have more confidence that they would do it right, and it'd be like any other prison, except that's
But
being
isn't the
leased.
question I think that Representative Hillstrom is raising, is it more basic than that? Although, wow, I really learned a lot from that little history lesson. Is whether it's really necessary, or do we need to look at other alternatives within our corrections system?
But as a
And-
practical matter, isn't it at this point, it's not in the Senate bill?
No,
And
it's
as a
not.
practical matter, it's pretty much dead this session,
That
isn't it?
it's, well, yes, I would say that it's not a live issue, certainly. We always have to be careful to ever
Right.
say never, so
Nothing's
I'm going
dead
to be
until the
cautious
last
about
gap.
that. But I think that.
But there's no companion bill on the
There
Senate
is
side.
I would say there is no interest, real interest in the Senate to pursue the use of the Appleton facility as a corrections facility.
Representative Hillstrom, I want to pursue with you, and then the panel as a whole, this compromise bill, because we heard some discussion about this in another forum a couple of days ago. Is the thought that this would see action this session?
So
Is there a bill introduced on this?
there
or-
is. So the sentencing guidelines, Minnesota is a sentencing guidelines state. But the sentencing guidelines has the authority to look at the guidelines and make changes, and as long as they send it to the legislature, it takes both bodies of the legislature to reject a proposal, or it becomes law August 1st. And so currently, the sentencing guidelines sent a proposal to the Minnesota legislature, and it would make changes really at the upper end of drug sentencing. So people who have been charged and convicted of first-degree possession and first-degree sale of drugs and second-degree
These are the more
possession.
serious offenses.
These are more drugs, longer periods of time. Minnesota does, at those upper ends, have some of the longest drug sentences in the country. We are out of proportion with other states in terms of drug sentencing. So the sentencing guidelines looked at that and said they were going to make the change. Now, when they sent the proposal to the legislature, some folks are interested in allowing that to go into effect, and some folks are not. Law enforcement, the county attorneys, the Public Defense Board, as well as private lawyers and other groups saw that there were some challenges with the sentencing guidelines as they were introduced, and they wanted to come up with a compromise that they could all live with better. And so the compromise that they were interested in required actually legislative action, not something that the sentencing guidelines has authority to do. Sentencing guidelines can't change statute. They can't take something that's currently a felony and make it a gross misdemeanor. They can't change any language. They can only re-rank offenses. Law enforcement and the county attorneys were particularly troubled by folks who have drugs and guns together. And so the sentencing guidelines doesn't have the ability to break out those offenses. It's simply just first-degree drugs and second-degree drugs. They don't have the ability to make those statutory changes.
So there is a bill now that's been introduced.
There is a bill that has been introduced that all of those groups have signed off on a compromise. That compromise would be tougher on folks who have drugs and guns together. And that is very, very important as far as I'm concerned.
Is the main goal to lessen the need for beds then? Or, I mean, with the epidemic of drugs right now going on, we've got people up in my area that are dying almost daily from overdoses.
Yeah.
We still have a serious problem with drugs.
We do.
And yet we're going to lessen the sentence for some of those folks that are dealing in drugs. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
So the goal is to not actually have the dealers get that double discount. It is to have the folks who really have the problem at the lower end. And so the compromise really did things for people who are at the lower end of the sentencing. So people who have fifth-degree controlled substance, so you might have a dose or two. So if you have one dose on you, the very first time you get caught, that would be a gross misdemeanor under the compromise instead of a current felony. Right now, if you have a felony amount that's not a trace amount or a single dose amount, it's currently a felony, and in some places you can get what's called a stay of adjudication, kind of like a continuance for dismissal. You go on probation. If you successfully complete it, you are discharged from probation. This compromise would say those stays of adjudication on your first time would be mandatory statewide. So it would make everyone uniform. That gives people who on their first time would have an opportunity to get treatment, rehabilitate themselves, show that they can.
And you think there's a good chance that this bill will pass both the House and Senate this session?
I believe that it will. I believe that once you can get all of those groups to believe that this is a better alternative to the sentencing guidelines, I think it has a very high likelihood of passage.
Something we'll be watching.